What's that? Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me? Playoffs? I just hope we can win a game.
About to be the clash of the titans. Strike like a lightning bolt. You feel the ground pounding, that might be the coast. Quick like a joke, like to hit when provoked. Don't you doubt that. That's a jaguar to a house cat. That's an outcast to a whole squadron. If you talking Houston, then we've got a problem. You'll probably get the horns if you mess with the cattle. Sit back in your saddle and get ready for the fan battle.
You know Jacksonville's motto: going places and eating faces.
Right.
Gang.
Oh, I like that so much better than the Sam Loves Jalen Ramsey intro. Thank you, Matt, for changing that. I appreciate that. Hello, everybody, and thank you for tuning in to the AFC South Fan Battle Podcast. My name is Samantha Wardnett, also known as Sammy Football. I am your host for this evening and most other shows, so thank you guys for joining us. If you are joining, make sure you share and like and comment, because we will be featuring comments live, and we do have a special guest tonight. So football is back. Training camp is officially underway, and I think next week we have a game. You know, we have things moving. Finally, we have something to talk about. I'm as the non-biased host who is also a Jaguars fan. It's been the longest off season in the 5 seasons we have been on this show. So I'm so excited that it's back. But I do want to mention before I introduce our commentators that we are running a contest at the moment. You can win a NFL jersey of your team, a jersey of your team, whatever jersey you choose. So go on our YouTube. It's youtube.com/fan battle sports. Subscribe to the channel and then follow Fan Battle Sports on Twitter and AFCSB on Twitter, and you could win a jersey. So without further ado, let's introduce the commentators for this evening. Representing the Texans, we have Matt Briggs.
What up, everyone?
Representing the Jaguars, we have the second best Josh Allen.
I'm your mom's favorite, Josh Allen, and I just want to dedicate today's show to my friend Leonard. He knows who he is, and just if you're watching, I haven't forgotten, buddy.
Yes,
okay.
Big shout out.
Big shout out. Representing the Colts, we have Chase Shumway.
How's it going, guys?
Representing the Titans, we have a new commentator tonight. First time on the show. It's Chase's second, but the first time on the show. We have Tyler Jones.
Nice to be here. It's actually my first podcast ever tonight, so I'm good and nervous.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I got you something then. As I do most of our Titans fans. So you have to give me your address after this. I got you some Hellman's mayonnaise. Just for you. I like to give back because I know it's y'all's favorite.
And
I
it's
hope
limited
the brand.
edition. It's Hellman's. They're going out of business, so it's
Yeah, I hope this is the brand you prefer. It is Titan two-tone blue, so let me know after the show, and I'll send that to you. Thank you.
You want to make sure you have a fresh jar to cry into when your team gets swept by the Jags again this year.
That's not going to happen, but that's fine.
Ooh, already shots fired. That's the way I like it. All right, our special guest for this evening is Jake Query. He's from 107.5 The Fan, which is a flagship Colts radio station in Indianapolis. How are you, sir? How you doing this evening?
I'm well. It's a pleasure to be joined by all of you. I do have to say, with all due respect, because I know that I'm the interloper here in the program, that Josh Allen would actually be the third most famous Josh Allen.
Ooh, I love
it. I agree.
Josh Allen.
I don't disagree with you there, sir. Third most famous, but Sam's mom actually, I'm her favorite. She says I'm the best. So
okay, that's cool.
So
yeah, his the ongoing joke is he is your mom's favorite Josh Allen. So I did a poll one time and I tagged my mom in it. my own mother. And I posted the Jaguars Josh Allen, the Bills Josh Allen, and this Josh Allen. I said, Mom, which one's your favorite? And she picked him. And so now I will never live it down. And
I
she's
mean,
a
Mom
trainer.
knows best. That's cool. I'll roll with it.
And I don't know if you can
Right.
see, but right here, there's an autographed picture of Josh Allen sacking Josh Allen that I have. So I'm full into
by
the
Josh
whole,
Allen.
Josh Allen shtick.
Yeah.
You should totally get your face photoshopped in that, though, because that'd be great.
Absolutely.
But Jake, how are you? Thank you for joining the shit show. We've been like I told you, I'm sure you're used to super official radio. We've had a few guys from sports radio from Jacksonville and Nashville on here the last couple weeks, and listen, we do our best. So thank you for coming on.
Well, I'm going to be at Colts camp tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. and I can tell you there's no bigger blank show than what's going on right now with Indianapolis. I mean, there's obviously a lot to talk about.
Wait to talk about that.
I mean,
I can't wait.
The Colts have been consistent in one thing over the last decade, and that's drama. And it makes our job easy, so that's cool.
I actually saw your tweet about that, and I was going to bring that up, so I'm glad you did. Because I was searching your Twitter, I try to feel out the person's personality before they come on. I'm like, okay, all right, I get it. Yeah, I appreciate the Colts drama. I loved the Jeff Saturday stuff last year. As a fan of a team in the AFC South that's not the Colts, I enjoyed it, but I actually like Jeff Saturday. I hope he's still working within the team in some capacity because.
Well, listen, Jeff Saturday is going to end up back at ESPN. I'm pretty sure of that. And, it's interesting because he was a guy that was obviously one of the most popular players in franchise history. He was well respected within the locker room when he was a player. A lot of those players, I think, really wanted to see him succeed. But he was put in a tough situation because, Jim Irsay was kind of on an island and thinking that was the right way to go. I think, to be honest with you, I think we were probably one or two games from, the end of the year. There were a couple of games there that kind of hindered the balance. And I think Irsay was really hell-bent on bringing back Jeff Saturday. I think Jim Irsay saw that as Jim Irsay's decision that he wanted to validate and show that he was kind of the smartest guy in the room when everybody was doubting it. And I think it was closer than people realized. Now, Shane Steichen is a hire that I think was the right one. I think even Frank Reich likes what Shane Steichen brings to the table offensively. They worked together at one point. Indianapolis, I think, has the pieces in place to be able to have some trajectory in the right direction. But there are a lot of big question marks, and any of that, for those of you that are fans of other teams in the AFC South, you've got certainly probably at least a 2 to 3 year window before Indianapolis is somebody that you're going to have to really consider towards being up towards the top of the division, in my opinion, unless Anthony Richardson comes along quickly. But it is nonstop in terms of just when you have an owner like Jim Irsay that claims he doesn't want to get involved, but does get involved and has been around.
Is very involved. Yeah.
It's, there's always something.
Yeah. As a Texans fan, I'm here for it. Like I'm just glad it's not my team no more. So you go ahead and take away.
Well, it's interesting because I think realistically, if you look at the AFC South, and I'm not going to say anything here that's overly revealing, but at this point, clearly you have Tennessee. It's very interesting to see what Tennessee does. Do they have 1 or 2 years left in a push with Ryan Tannehill to try to regroup defensively and ride Derrick Henry, or do they hand it all the way over to Will Levis and just go with that? So it appears as though certainly the division is moving towards the direction of Jacksonville, because I love Trevor Lawrence. I'm a Clemson season ticket holder. I watched every snap he took in college. I think he's the closest I've seen in terms of the movement of a Peyton Manning that I've seen since anybody's come into the league. That includes an Andrew Luck, that includes Josh Allen, some really great players that have come in. But I think Lawrence has an it factor. I think what Lawrence had to learn in Jacksonville that's difficult for a lot of young quarterbacks is, at Clemson, he was throwing to Sunday receivers, right? He's throwing to guys that were always 2 steps ahead of everybody else, and those windows were awfully big, and all you had to do was get in the vicinity, and his accuracy was tremendous. But, when you're throwing to guys that are all going to be playing on Sundays, it takes some adjustment when you get into the NFL and you're throwing to guys that have coverage on there and the windows are closing so much anyway. And I think that learning curve we saw in the second half of last year, it has shrunk. And so it looked to me a lot like once Manning got his footing underneath him. And I would be extremely excited if I was a Jacksonville fan. And then with Houston and Indianapolis, both of them with young quarterbacks, with C.J. Stroud, obviously with Anthony Richardson. It's just a matter of which one of those two is able to kind of catch up and get back up into the party first. I think it's probably going to be Houston because I think they have better pieces around than does Indianapolis. But it's going to be a couple of years wait for sure.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
yeah, it's definitely different the way that the division is moving and who's on top. There's no, question. We were kind of like the laughing stock, but I think people are finally afraid of us as a division. Finally, thank the Jaguars for that, I guess. I don't know. I'm just talking crap at this point, but we've had so much between Urban Meyer and the Jaguars and everything that's happened with that. Houston and the Deshaun Watson drama and the Colts and everything else. It's like, it's good. Like, I know that there are some pieces that seem messy, but man, it feels good that as a division, because at the end of the day, like me and all these guys, we all talk crap to each other, but we'll want the other one's team in the postseason to make it. Don't shake your head no, Josh Allen.
Nope, I do not.
Don't shake your head no.
I hope all of your
second
teams
that.
lose every game that they play. So
No, wait a minute, Josh.
Okay, sorry. I apologize. Not
If Jacksonville was to win the division, wouldn't you want people to league-wide, wouldn't you want that to mean something as opposed to being like the tallest member of the Lollipop Guild?
I don't care. I want
to carry some weight, right?
No, not really. I want your teams to suck and my team to be good. I'm okay with it. I'm okay with what that means. Like, yeah. I'm just being honest, man. A lot of people like to pretend like they want to root for their frenemy teams, and I don't. I don't want to.
Hey, I live in a city, and I covered a team in Indianapolis that lived and got fat year after year after year off of the rest of the division sucking, man. I mean, Tennessee was good, but Houston and Jacksonville were both abysmal, and the Colts just 12-0 every year, 14-0 every year starting out. And nobody talked about the fact that they had not one but two different expansion franchises over the course of that time. They had a relocated franchise. It was living on the high hog, man.
Yeah,
but there are certain things in life that are guaranteed, and I know you can agree with this: death, taxes, and the Colts never being able to beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville. So that is the one thing we can always guarantee, no matter how good they are. I have a feeling that once the Colts do finally beat the Jaguars in Jacksonville, they'll probably make a banner and hang it. Like, finally defeated the Jaguars.
They like banners
in their own stadium.
Yeah, that's funny.
Well, listen, we're gonna unpack the teams really quickly. The other ones, I know we kind of graced over it just now, but training camp is kicked off. There's been a lot of fighting. I don't know if you guys saw the Travis Kelce. Is that team falling apart? Like
No.
Just say yes.
Look,
I wish.
They are the new Patriots. Just say yes.
Yeah.
But you actually like Peyton. You can like Patrick Mahomes. You can't like Tom Brady. So I mean, is it really?
I literally can't.
Tampa
I've
Bay
tried.
Tom Brady was different though.
It was though. He was.
from-
Hey, I think
Yeah,
Tom
he
is
turned
the
into
GOAT,
Florida
so-
man, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's been a lot around the league and in the training camps already. A lot of scuffles, a lot of things happening. Jalen Ramsey got carted off, had to have knee surgery. He's gonna miss. Did they say how long he's gonna miss already?
They said he will miss the beginning of the season. I didn't
10
see
games,
any.
right?
Whatever.
Yeah.
Could be almost to December.
Yeah.
And,
Wow.
and former Colts running back Naheem Hines, he got
Out
hurt
for the
in-
season for a snowboarding accident.
No, I thought it was jet ski.
Jet skis.
Jet ski,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Jet ski.
I was gonna say snowboarding in
You're thinking of
July.
Andrew Luck. You're getting your standards wrong.
You're getting your injuries wrong there, buddy.
That's right. But what's interesting is Naeem Hines now with the Buffalo injury. So he's on a jet ski. He gets T-boned essentially. It's a non-football injury. And Buffalo now is actually getting into the finite of his contract to find out whether or not that was a violation of his contract that would prohibit him from collecting any sort of insurance and or salary money off of it. So really good guy, Naeem Hines. I like Naeem Hines a great deal. He's a super nice guy, talented player, underused in Indianapolis. I thought a little bit underused in Buffalo once they got him. But obviously it was huge in some emotional moments for them. So that sucks all the way around.
Yeah, that's awful.
Yeah. Well, let's break down real quick, Matt. Go ahead, dive into the Texans. Anything? Give us just a couple minutes. Snapshot.
Yeah, heck, training camp. Davis Mills still throwing interceptions like always. But one thing
Love to see it.
I love, especially now we got CJ Stroud. That's one thing I'm love to hear is D'Amico Ryan says CJ Stroud's not making the same mistake twice, unlike other quarterbacks he's seen. So that's a good thing. But everything I've been reading, hearing, seeing is the defense is moving in a unit. So I can't wait that. Me, BT, and Crimson will both say by the end of the season, Texans will have a top 12 secondary, and I think it's going to happen. So other than that, yeah, that's it.
All right.
No drama, so I'm good.
Josh Allen, the Texans or the Jaguars. Wow.
Yeah, I
My
mean,
bad.
the stuff coming out of camp in Jacksonville is the stuff you would expect. Trevor Lawrence looks good. Calvin Ridley looks like he's literally moving in he makes everyone else look like they're moving in slow motion, right? They've opened the new practice facility there that they're doing camp in, and fans are there. So it's actually been a pretty lively atmosphere. The tight ends, they say, have had a good camp, all of them so far. And then the only other thing I've seen is Chad Muma and Gregory Jr. on the defensive side have been making some plays. There's a couple of interceptions, just really athletic plays they made on a couple Trevor Lawrence balls and picked him off. Camp interceptions, who knows, right? Like I'm not smart enough to tell you, first week of camp, if an interception from your QB to a guy like Chad Muma is a bad sign, but I would imagine you see, some of that as camp goes on. But it just seems like things are trending in the same direction they were trending into last year. If the Jaguars can play mistake-free football like they have shown they can do at times, they're a force to be reckoned with. So we'll see.
I mean, that's what you want. That's what you want interception, right? It's training camp, not game. So
sure.
Yeah, I agree with it.
Yeah. Well, there's a little bit of a fuss made over the one interception that Chad Muma made. Jaguars fans, I love them, but they're stupid. And people freaked out like, oh, he threw an interception right to the. I'm like, come on, y'all. It's 3 days into camp, like they're learning, dealing with a whole bunch of stuff. But the most exciting thing probably is Calvin Ridley. Ridley, just like I said, he looks like he's from another planet. The way he moves, the way he runs routes, like it's insane. It's crazy. So.
Oh well, I guess Sam didn't want nothing to do with this, so we'll
who's the vice host? Like when Sam drops off, like which one of you is not allowed to travel with her at all times? Like who becomes the?
Yeah,
I can tell you right now. I've been on here for 10 minutes. To me, there's a very apparent vice host here, like the number 2 in command. Now, who do you guys think it is?
I don't know.
I'm gonna say it's Josh Allen.
The number 1 Josh Allen.
It is Josh Allen, clearly, and that might be that Jags bias, right? But
yeah. Well, Sam and I live in the state. We both live in Jacksonville. Like she's literally 5 minutes down the street from me, and we work on other podcast stuff together. So she and I.
Now, is it required that you listen to Leonard Skinner if you live in Jacksonville?
It is on your birthday. You have to listen to Leonard Skinner's greatest hits.
Okay. I did go just last year with a buddy of mine. We were on a road trip, and we went right on the Mississippi-Louisiana state line to the site of the Leonard Skinner plane crash, by the way.
Oh, that's wild.
It is crazy. It's out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, and there's a big controversy right now. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
They have a memorial there, like a big thing now for it.
Yeah, there's a controversy here. So the house that Leonard Skinner first started practicing in is called the Hell House. It's in this little town called Green Cove Springs. And all around it is a giant subdivision. And the people that now own the land are trying to sell it so that someone can build a house on it.
Man, that's got to be a historical landmark, doesn't it?
Yeah, you would think so, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but I guess Sam's house got hit by lightning.
Yeah.
I'm actually in Muscle Shoals, Alabama. That's where I live.
Nice.
And so Leonard Skinner wrote most of their a lot of their hits here and recorded them. So it's kind of like it's a crazy connection right there that you're right by where they started. And then I'm right by where they started recording.
Okay, so let me ask you this. It's in Alabama, and I'm curious of this. This question has no definitive answer. It's a nonstop debate. Which is Leonard Skinner's signature song? Sweet Home Alabama or Freebird?
Well, here, Sweet Home Alabama is almost like a state anthem. So to me, that's what it's going to be to me. And, on Saturdays we wake up and that's what we listen to. So, I mean, like that's the stakeholder to them here is Sweet Home Alabama, but Freebird is probably their most iconic, I would imagine, everywhere else. I don't think people.
That's a good way of saying it. Yeah,
So
it's crazy that y'all bringing up Leonard Skinner because 2 weeks ago my father passed and he was a big Leonard Skinner fan. And our last name is Briggs. So every time that stupid "Call Me the Breeze" song came on,
that's actually my favorite Leonard Skinner song.
He would sing "Call Mr. Briggs." So it was a good memory. So
I will tell you that probably
Goosebumps.
Sweet Home Alabama is their most famous and well-known song, but you cannot go to a bar or a place that has like live music playing in Jacksonville and not have someone yell out at the top of their lungs, "Play Freebird."
Oh, I think
whatever
Freebird is
band
their signature song because
That's
Freebird
me
is the
at every
signature song of
level,
an
man.
entire genre of music.
Yeah.
So I think it's Freebird.
for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, the Jags are really
meanwhile,
good.
the guys from Tennessee and Indianapolis are like, "What the hell are these guys talking about?" This guy, he covers the Colts, and he's talking about Leonard Skinner and plane crash sites.
Hey, you're my favorite Colts interview we've ever done, just because you have an appreciation for Leonard Skinner. So
well, the thing I appreciate about Jacksonville, two things about Jacksonville, real quick. Number one, the whole town smells like Maxwell House coffee is being roasted.
Yes, it does.
And number two, when I went down to Jacksonville in, I don't know, probably 05 or 06 to cover the Colts Jags, I was using a photographer from down there, Tom Stallings, great dude. And Tom Stallings took us to a bar called Locals, and we went to Locals. And Tom Stallings knew he knew everybody because he's a local. And the entire Indianapolis media that was covering the Colts got free shots at Locals all night. And I was the only smart one that abstained from the freebies, and people were puking on the field next day. Awesome.
Yep.
The Colts threw up on the field too, actually, for that matter. But it was a great memory.
Yeah, that's happened many times. The Colts thrown up on the field in Jacksonville. When the Jags sucked like a lot for a long time, like the one game that I would go to for sure every single year was the Colts home game because I knew that was a lock. It's like a guaranteed win. So it was always amazing. Oh, look, she's not dead.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
So I'm actually tethering from my phone. My house got struck by lightning and it hit my entire modem. Like my modem is done. I'm shocked you guys didn't hear it.
You mean like right then we got hit by
like when I froze out. So we have like a bad thunderstorm because of Florida. Wow. My house, I mean, I heard that it like clicked and like there's not even a light on my modem anymore. So I'm tethering from my phone right now. It's that was scary.
That's wild. Well,
that was scary.
All right.
So I don't even know where you guys are at. I commented to let y'all know.
We had a really good chat about Leonard Skinner, and I really like this guy. Yes. I'm not going to hold against him the fact that he's a Colts fan / commentator, and he's one of my favorite people now. So
I'm not a Colts fan. I grew up a Steelers fan for what it's worth. The Colts moved to Indy when I was in the 6th grade, so I'd already had my kind of established fandom. And then I'll be honest with you guys, like once you get, and the one thing I'll be honest. The one thing for me about covering the NFL or being a sports commentator, sports reporter in general, and I say this as a negative. I'm not saying it as, I hope it doesn't come off like some sort of it's a real drawback, quite frankly, and it's something of which I'm envious of other people. But because you have to have an objectivity when you're covering a team, you almost lose your fandom in general for sports. I mean, like you just kind of watch games in the aspect of like an autopsy, trying to figure out how games are won or lost. And I truly do envy. I've never been able to go and eat wings and drink beer and watch a game and tailgate and go out with my buddies. I've never been able to do that because my entire professional life, or my entire adult life, I should say, I'm there with a credential on. You know what I mean? And so I have a great enthusiasm and a great appreciation and respect for guys like you and gals like you that keep it alive and keep it going like that. I wish I could do it. I wish I could be in that mix, but you just kind of get immune to it after a while. And I apologize if that's disappointing.
No,
that makes sense, man. That makes it feel more.
We always like,
we
always like to hear, the inside of what it's like, So thanks.
I tell you what, when the Colts play the Jags, if you're in town, hit me up. If our local hockey team is playing, the Jacksonville Icemen, we'll go cut it up at an Iceman game.
All right, there you go. That's
either
cool.
before or after the.
We go to Locals too, and they can give free shots and we get people puking on the field again.
Absolutely.
Oh, Locals is right by my house. Right by my house.
Maybe it got hit by lightning. My God.
It might have. It might have. So I don't even know where we were at in the conversation.
Whatever team is after the Jaguars, who's next? That's where we are.
Oh, the Mayos. Okay, go ahead. My bad, guys. My bad.
All right. So really what I'm hearing out of training camp is we're hearing a lot about the backup quarterback spot. Tannehill is going to be the quarterback this year. You don't pay a guy that much money to sit on the bench. So we're going to run it one more time with Tannehill and see what he does. Hopefully he can deliver in the postseason. The regular season, I'm not really too worried about. But I'm hearing a lot about Malik Willis taking a huge step forward. And that makes me really happy because I think he has a way higher ceiling than Levis. I hope I'm wrong about Levis, but I told you guys earlier that I was not very happy with the pick when we picked him because, like I said, you're paying Tannehill that much and you have Malik Willis as a backup project already. So hopefully I'm wrong and he turns into one of the guys that's going to blow up the league when he gets seasoned. But I'm hearing a lot about Malik Willis from Vrabel and all the reporters there saying that his timing is way better and he's just on point with a lot of things. So let's hope that he continues his development. And then we have the offensive line shamble that is going on. It's horrible right now. So we're just hoping we can find a backup right tackle that's going to do good for 6 games until MPT gets back. And hopefully he takes a step forward from what he was in his rookie season. He was solid. Looks like he has all the pieces to be good. Hopefully he can put it all together this year. And our left tackle situation is not very great, but whether it's Sco or whoever else we want to put out there, Skaronski looks like he's going to be a monster. So hopefully that wasn't a waste of a pick as well. Once we get past that, the defense looks solid. Our one-on-ones have been amazing to watch. D-Hop and Traylon Burks going at it with our DBs. Christian Fulton, Roger McCreary is looking like he's going to take a step forward. Linebacking core looks solid. And then you have Jeff Simmons up front who's going to Arden Key is another guy who has just been showing out.
He built like everything in Jacksonville. He built the culture. He made everything in Jacksonville. If it wasn't for him, we would not have anything. Like the Main Street Bridge in downtown that does the robot thing. If it wasn't for Arden Key, we wouldn't have that. So shout out.
He delivered babies and.
Well, I was actually going to ask you guys, the Jags fans on here, how you felt about it because I saw he played for the Jags last year. And he was with the 49ers before that. So I'm really interested to see how he is in the regular season because there's a lot of guys who show out in training camp who are just training camp stars and never really do anything in the regular season. So
Arden Key's personality is better than his performance on the field. He's as average as the day is long.
If he can get us 5 sacks, I'll be happy with him because the absence of Bud Dupree, Bud was really good at being a leader and creating pressure, but he never seemed to get back there and get the quarterback. So anybody who can get back there and just get his hands on the guy, then I'll be happy with him.
He gets you 5 sacks, I'll eat my hat.
Well, he got 4.5 last year for the Jags and 6.5 for the 49ers before that. So I'm just hoping we get, 4 or 5 out of him and I'll be happy. So.
Yeah, I will say that the Jaguars fans did not mind him. They weren't like thrilled by him. But they didn't mind him until he made that comment that he built Jacksonville and its culture. And then everybody was like, nope, never mind. We're good.
Yeah, what he said specifically was he came in, saved the city, built up a culture, and it was like, oh, really? I didn't
and left for money.
That's a wild statement. That's one thing I know he can't say about Nashville because Mike Vrabel has done that and he's sustaining it pretty well. So take that completely out of the question on that. So hopefully he doesn't make any wild statements like that here, and we'll like him.
Well, good luck with your 3 quarterbacks, and hopefully it works out. Especially now that you have one. Especially now that you have one that puts mayo in his coffee. So shout out to that. All right, the reason why we're all here, the Colts, Jonathan Taylor, the drama, the saga continues. I'll let Chase and Jake, I'll just let you guys talk because I feel like, this is one of those instances where we don't really have room to talk in this situation. So I'm gonna let y'all take it.
Well, all right. If it's okay with you, Jake, I'd like to go first. Well, I have to get my hat off of this because we got a lot to talk about.
Oh, he's about to eat his hat. See? Let me take this hat off.
But yeah, obviously everybody knows all about Jonathan Taylor right now. This whole Jonathan Taylor story has basically blown up Anthony Richardson's training camp moment. But yeah, Taylor had surgery, I believe in January, took 2 to 4 weeks to recover. Then all of a sudden now, Stephen Holder just reported that, and Mike Chappell said it too, that apparently there's a back injury from an Arizona trip he had. So I didn't even know that. So they now are going to put him.
Jalen Ramsey pulled that same stuff.
And there's talk
that my back hurts.
And now in April, Taylor said he was okay to play on his rookie deal because he said he owed it to the franchise. He was drafted by them. He will play on his rookie deal. Then in May, he changes agents. And all of a sudden, when that happened, the agent thinks he's worth $20 million a season, 16 to 20. And then, but other than that, we got, what else? We got a new kicker. Matt Gay is kicking bombs. Rodrigo Sanchez, our punter, is kicking bombs again. Hopefully he stays healthy and doesn't injure himself on sprints. Can you guys still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So what else? And a lot. Anthony Richardson's throwing bombs, but it's preseason. No one's in pads. Obviously, Isaiah Rodgers got cut from the team for gambling. Just a lot of stuff going on with JT. Just a lot of stuff going on with JT. And Jim Irsay thinks that the coaching is now been fixed. So he's going to hold off on paying Jonathan Taylor right now and see how that goes. I mean, we've had a lot of great running backs, but there's no way I can think JT gets traded whatsoever. I just can't see it happening, and the running back market is so scarce. And before the show, I said Derrick Henry's only making 14.7, and he's not the greatest running back in the league. So we'll see what happens, but $16 to $20 million is a lot of money for a running back, and I'm also glad Darius is back. He's looking like he's almost back up to par. And if JT plays, we're probably around that 6.5 win mark. But if not, we're probably at the bottom totem pole.
All right, let's hear from the man.
I think the challenge for Indianapolis is simple. First off, let's start with Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor's getting really bad advice from his agent. And I get it. An agent's job is to get a guy is paid as much as possible. And the reality is that Jonathan Taylor has more value to the Indianapolis Colts than he would for other franchises. And his agent knows that. If you go back and you look at Indianapolis's time when they've had franchise quarterbacks that they've drafted high, I mean, you go back all the way, Jeff George had Eric Dickerson. Peyton Manning had Marshall Faulk as a rookie, and then obviously that turned into Edgerrin James when they traded. And think about that. Let's go back to that. They traded Faulk, who still had an MVP season and Super Bowl left in him, and they got a second and a fifth rounder. So Faulk was just entering his prime when they traded him. Andrew Luck obviously had the benefit of a Reggie Wayne as a safety net offensive player to lean on. Jonathan Taylor and his representatives know that Anthony Richardson, to get his footing and to get underway in the NFL, especially in Shane Steichen's offense, that the running back position is of importance in what they want to do and in offering something to keep defenses honest for Anthony Richardson and to allow him to get footing underneath him. But that said, what they don't realize, what Jonathan Taylor doesn't seem to realize, is that the timeline is not in his favor. Because if he's coming off of the end of his rookie deal and then he wants, let's say, a 3-year deal. So you sign him 3 years, but during that time offensively, you're actually continuing to grow Anthony Richardson. You're continuing to grow your passing game. And Shane Steichen has shown, if you look at Jalen Hurts, a lot of the carries now are going to go to Anthony Richardson. So for Taylor, it's a catch-22 because he does have value to Indianapolis more so than other franchises, but that value probably is dwindling as the time goes on. And there's no reason for the Colts to commit to him because of the fact that they can not only have him play out this year with his rookie deal, but then they can franchise tag him for a year. Now you've got a chance to find out whether or not that buys you time to figure out whether or not you need to have him in the mix for the 3 to 5 years of an extension. But more so what it comes down to is this. Jonathan Taylor has nowhere to go, literally nowhere to go. Because like just for example, if you look like when Sam's house got hit by lightning, right? And immediately Josh Allen picks it right up. Josh Allen's on it. He's like, I'm the host. I'm here. Boom. We're off and running. And with all due respect to Sam, everything was A-okay. We're able to continue it forward. The NFL today, the running back position, no matter who it is the most fungible position in sports. And when a player goes down, there are other players that are able to step in at 70 to 80% the effectiveness and 20% the cost. In Taylor's case, who the hell is going to trade for a running back? And he's a wonderful talent. He's been a good guy. He's been a good community guy. He's been a humble guy, and he's been a wonderful player. But he does have the injury. And in addition to that, who's going to trade for a guy right now when Ezekiel Elliott and Delvin Cook are sitting on the sidelines just waiting to just go into a camp and sign somewhere? Why would you give up assets when you can sign a free agent that is 1,000-yard back? So the market does not dictate things well for Jonathan Taylor. Where Indianapolis has aired, where Jim Irsay had aired, was coming out and airing this and speaking out about the running back position and the unity of running backs, which Jonathan Taylor and his representatives saw as a slight. Taylor is in the wrong here. Taylor has he really has no option as to what to do. But the Colts now all of a sudden have a tiger by the tail because, and we've seen this before with unhappy running backs, Eric Dickerson. So they've been in this position before. Irsay's seen this position before. He's seen this story before. And they're willing to say, okay, we'll put you on the non-football injury list and just not pay you and see where it works out. And then you go back to running back by committee, and Indianapolis is going to have the ability to move forward from Jonathan Taylor, quite frankly, if that's what they opt to do. As for Anthony Richardson, go ahead.
I'm glad you brought that up about the injury football list. Here's a good question, or not question, but statement. If they'd actually do that, will that trigger a lot of NFLPA action? Do you think that they're going to bring down on it, or?
It's a great question, and it probably is strictly dependent upon what the physical said. I mean, if in fact they have physical evidence that he has an injury that came from being away from football, then, or maybe he's the one that says, well, hey, you know what, I can't practice anyway because I strained my back. Okay, fine, we'll put you on the non-football injury list. So it sounds to me like that was almost precipitated by Taylor himself. So it's almost like they're coming up with a creative way for a holdout without it necessarily being directly a holdout. But if there's a season to be clouded by drama for Indianapolis, it's this one, because the year's a wash anyway. They're not going to do anything this year anyway. Indianapolis Colts 2023 season is defined. It is illustrated. It is absolutely paramount by one thing, and that is the development of Anthony Richardson at the quarterback position. And that's it. That's all they're worried about. They're not worried about wins. They're not worried about placements. They're worried about developing Anthony Richardson. And Anthony Richardson so far, and the one thing, going back to Tennessee and the quarterback situation in Tennessee, I actually would be really encouraged if I'm a Tennessee fan, because if you talk to people in the NFL, they will tell you that when Peyton Manning was coming into the league, or when other quarterbacks were coming into the league, it was back then the college, the way that collegiately defenses were playing and the way that the passing games worked collegiately, it was a little bit closer window between the college style and the NFL style. So it was a little bit easier to be able to predict what quarterbacks were going to be, that you could tell who was really going to stand out. Today, in today's game, between the college game and the NFL game, there's a greater chasm. So it's more of a crapshoot in trying to determine what quarterbacks are going to translate into the NFL style. We've seen plenty that have been college stars that have come in and struggled at the NFL level. Now, of the guys in this year's draft, my belief is, and I'm just going by people I talk to, not necessarily me, I'm nothing but a guy that talks on the radio, but in talking to people whose job it is to know these things from the NFL level, I think a lot of them will tell you that the guy that they felt his style, his footwork, and his mechanics were most ready to translate from college into the NFL would be Will Levis. And that Levis had the injury issues, and that's why he was held back a little bit. I do think that he has some physicality about him. And I love Malik Willis. Now, if Tennessee's got issue with the line position, then having guys that are durable, that are able to extend plays, are going to be assets to them once Tannehill becomes a statue. And you move that in, that buys you some time at the offensive line. But that's what Richardson does for Indianapolis. He gives them the Colts have had a bad offensive line last year, and I think a lot of that is because Ryan Kelly was going through some things, and he's the anchor of that line, at the offensive line right there in the center. And I think he's in a better place this year, and that hopefully will solidify for the Colts their line. But Richardson gives them some ability to move around. But is he going to be ready to go right away? I think they're going to hand the keys over to him right away, and that's why I think the year's a wash for Indianapolis. It's all about Richardson's comfort level, and that is it.
Okay. I like it. I like it a lot. So you don't see a option where they put Gardner Minshew because he already knows the playbook? And
yeah, I think that's no, I think it's a fair question for sure, and I think it's a possibility. Here's what's interesting. Shane Steichen, I think Shane Steichen probably would like Minshew to kind of get things going a little bit for the sake of to find. If you're Shane Steichen, you really need to assess and evaluate offensively who all you have, right? Who are guys you can run with. And Minshew gives you the best opportunity right now to be able to get that honest assessment because he's going to be able to get the football to receivers. He's going to be able to do, play action, things like that. So, and he knows the offense. So Minshew probably gives you a better chance to evaluate everyone else. And I would think Steichen would like to use Minshew early, but I do think that Jim Irsay is really keen on having Anthony Richardson going from the get-go. And Irsay's the guy that's not only handing out $100 bills he signs at camp, he's the guy that signs the checks as well. So
exactly,
it would not surprise me if it's Richardson from day one.
Is there a point to be made, though, that you don't want to throw him into the fire with an offense that is subpar? Because, confidence, I feel like, is a big key for quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'm not sure about putting him in there with hardly any weapons, especially with JT not playing. So,
Tyler, I could not agree with you more. I honestly, I have always felt that way. That is, to me, the most astute thing that's going to be said on this show tonight. Because if you look at quarterbacks in the NFL, more often than not, what is the separator? It's the situation they walk into, right? You look at guys, there have been players that were taken number one. David Carr never had a chance in Houston. Never had a chance. Now, my understanding is his work ethic was terrible, but he never had a chance because you get to a point, and I truly believe this, it happened to Jeff George in Indianapolis. You get to a point where if you're revolving through everything and you're constantly, you can't get any stability, you reach a point of no return. There's no question about it. You reach a point of no return. To an extent, it happened to Ryan Tannehill in Miami. And then he comes to Tennessee and he's reborn because he's got stability around him, right? So I agree with that. I agree that you want, especially a guy like Richardson that only has 13 college starts, you do want to make sure that you have some stability around him. And I think that does factor into when they hand it over to him. But Jim Irsay is hell-bent on handing it over to him now.
We had a comment come in from Jaguars Hooligan, and they said, "Sammy, are you still crying over Minshew asking for a friend?" And the answer is yes, I am. Yes, I am. I hate that he is playing for a division team. I wanted him to be like ball boy or something. I didn't want him to be quarterback, but I miss Minshew. He is Duval.
Jake, I got a question for you. Have you shotgunned a Gatorade with Gardner Minshew yet?
You know what? We were just talking about this on my radio show the other day. I'll be 51 years old in September, right? I had a normal upbringing, whatever else. I've never even shotgunned a beer. Can you believe that? I've never in my life shotgunned a beer.
Well, you have to do it now.
So let alone, I guess a Gatorade will be the way to do it, right? Now, we did do this on our radio show leading up to the draft when it looked like the Colts, there were obviously the quarterbacks. It was Levis, it was Richardson, it was Stroud, and it was Young. Those are the four guys. So in talking about Levis and evaluating him, we decided to try mayonnaise in the coffee. Now, I personally think mayonnaise is the devil's spawn anyway. It's the most horrific thing ever produced on planet Earth. But the coffee mayonnaise combination was absolutely – see, that is just just looking at it. I can smell it. I can smell that from here. Mayonnaise, it is so bad. But mayonnaise and the coffee in particular, it coagulates immediately. It was the most. It was like sour cottage cheese, and then coffee's awful anyway.
We actually had a bet for the Titans Jags game last year, and one of the Titans commentators, because he knew that they were going to win, which I knew they weren't. So he lost the bet, and he had to eat a spoonful of mayonnaise on the air. That was the bet.
Yeah,
And even the sound that it made. Oh,
Yeah, it was awful.
It was really bad.
It is the most. I'm not kidding.
Sorry, Jake.
It's
Sorry,
the spawn
Jake.
of the devil. It is so bad.
we can agree with you. Everybody besides Tyler, we can agree with you, but
Yeah,
Tyler does.
Tyler's over there rolling up his sleeves, like, quit talking about Dukes like that, man.
No, I'm right there with y'all. I don't understand how the mayonnaise in coffee. I drink coffee every day, but I'm not a big mayonnaise guy myself. I know that's contradicting with all the Titan stuff.
Did they run out of banana pills up there in Indy? Jake, why did y'all do the coffee and not the banana pills? I mean, that's
no way. What's the banana peel one? Oh, that's right. He eats the banana with the peel, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So my understanding is too. Now, after the fact, it is funny. It's funny you mentioned that because it's like, to me the banana peel thing is more bizarre than the coffee and the mayonnaise, right? But the mayonnaise coffee thing is the one that took off. And then afterwards, he explained. I don't know if you guys heard when he said, like, actually, what happened is like one time he and his girlfriend didn't have cream. They forgot to get cream at the grocery store. Yeah. So as a joke, he did the mayonnaise thing.
Oh yeah, so funny! Wow, what a funny guy.
I think
people thought that meant that he did it every morning. He's like, no.
I think that Will Levis is just the Big Lots version of Gardner Minshew, right? He's trying to be cool and
that's probably fair.
Like have a hip personality, but like it just fails every time. It's just like he's Bobo Minshew is what he is.
Yeah, but Minshew Gardner Minshew seems like the opposite. Like Minshew to me seems like the kind of dude, and Sam, you would know better than I, but he seems to me like the kind of dude that is super cool and funny because he doesn't try to be super cool or funny.
Exactly.
Like he's just naturally, organically kind of out there, like kind of like Mike Leach, right? Like he's just kind of out there, and that's what makes him fun, and that's what makes him cool, right? And I will say, if he doesn't start this year, then he becomes easily one of the 5 best backups in the league, which is what he's been. I mean, I think he's a solid player.
Yeah. Because the Eagles only lost one game
one of the cool
without Hurts, so
yeah, solid.
Yeah, the one of the coolest things about Minshew that I liked is I remember showing up to the stadium for some event, I can't remember, and you saw all the football players' cars in the parking lot, and they were all like, expensive vehicles, and he had like a 2004 Acura, like still, like he was like, why waste the money? I love it. I love his personality.
Beautiful.
So what's next for the Colts? Like, what's next for the Colts, do you feel like? Like, besides, you said building Anthony Richardson, like, obviously you don't expect anything this year, but what else? Is that it?
They got to do something. No, they got to do something with their defensive backfield. I mean, they are literally
young.
Yeah, they're young, and they don't. I mean, Chase, you can speak to it. They've got, Dallas Flowers had some moments as a rookie, but he's an undrafted guy that goes in there. Juju Brents, who's a rookie that they drafted this year, is an Indianapolis native, is going to have, and is athletic, but is untested. They're going to have to build depth at the line, at the corner position. The thing for me about the Colts that has been their downfall, just my opinion, is the Colts have spent under Chris Ballard the blueprint of building really good players at the positions that are the least relevant in the 2023 NFL. If Chris Ballard was building an NBA team, he would start it right now in 2023 with like Patrick Ewing, Sam Cassell, and Anthony Mason, guys that totally don't exist in the 2023 NBA. And in the 2023 NFL, Indianapolis has got to be the only franchise out there who has tried to build their roster around a middle linebacker, an offensive guard, and a running back.
Old school.
And now they see. I think last year Ballard, to his credit, came out and said, you know what, I erred. We won 4 games. We were terrible. I think he saw it. And so they just said, okay, we're going to have to go ahead. We tried to buck the system forever. We got to get on board with everybody else and get a dual threat quarterback and that has a big arm and let that develop and organically grow. And now we've got to bolster the positions that we kind of neglected before because we were putting our resources elsewhere. And DB and corner and safety, all that as well.
Yeah.
So do you see Chris Ballard next year, or is he gone?
No, I think Ballard bought himself 4 more years by drafting Richardson, quite frankly. I don't know. I mean,
you just made Reese upset.
I mean, Irsay loves him. Irsay loves him. So, that you guys remember Etch-a-Sketches when we were kids?
Yep.
Did you guys have those? You shake it and then it clears out. That's last year. Jim Irsay allowed Chris Ballard to take the Etch-a-Sketch and shake it, and so now he's just starting to turn the knobs again. So you can't decide whether or not the art that he comes up with is good or bad until he's had plenty of time to build a new one before you decide to shake it or go with it.
Yeah, I think Ballard sucks, so I'm happy to hear that he'll be there for me forever.
I can see that. I can see that.
Chase, do you have one more question for Jake before we go ahead and wrap this up?
He kind of stole my question there, but yeah, I was basically like, it's like, do you want Ryan Grigson or Chris Ballard? Because I keep looking at the numbers. I understand Ryan Grigson was, an ass. Because I heard that from Pat McAfee. He said it several times.
Your mother is watching, Chase.
Oh,
yeah, easy there, bud.
But
calm down.
Yeah, he spent money in free agency a lot on overpaid players a lot, but he did increase going to the playoffs. But that obviously turned into Andrew Luck getting hurt. And so, but yeah, Chris Ballard, he went from having Chuck Pagano and then he brought in Frank Reich. Because normally, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jake, if Chris Ballard was with any other team, wouldn't he be fired?
It's a fair question. It's a fair statement too, Chase, for sure. And I understand what you're saying about Grigson as well. I mean, I personally, it's interesting, the yin and the yang of Ryan Grigson and Chris Ballard in terms of their approaches. Grigson was a guy that all he wanted to do was watch tape, be in the room, and not focus on the PR aspect of it. And that included how he managed and talked with people inside of the locker room and how he addressed the media or fans. And Ryan Grigson, by his own admission, an open disclaimer, I like Ryan Grigson. Ryan Grigson, by his own admission, erred in those areas. Chris Ballard, on the other hand, came in. Chris Ballard to me is like a used car salesman. Like he's got the southern drawl and the batty eyes, and he starts every question with like, "Well, listen, listen, and he kind of smooth talks you. And he got away with that for a long time, and he was resting on his laurels a little bit. But now I think there's enough body of work there that if you were a detractor of his to say like, hey man, like where's the proof here? Where's the proof in the pudding? I mean, what are you doing? You're resetting every 3 to 5 years here, and you know what? Maybe it's genius because he just keeps buying himself another benefit of the doubt, another 3 to 5 years. But I don't think Chase he's going anywhere. I mean, unless they have just an absolutely seismic collapse and Anthony Richardson goes out in this Jamarcus Russell part 2, I don't think that they're going to go. And I don't think that's going to be the case, by the way. I don't think that he is necessarily like immediately, there are people that are like, oh my God, Super Bowl MVP right now. He threw a 60-yard pass in practice. Yeah, okay. I mean, I hit a lot of great shots in the driveway, right? But and truthfully, guys, I'll be honest with you. Hell, man, the Indiana State Fair is only 2 days in. Like until the state fair is over, you never know what players are going to be and what teams are going to be, in my opinion, in August. You just don't. I mean, everybody, Drew Haddad should be in Canton based on what he did as a preseason player for the Colts for many, many years. And that's just, you just never know. One of you guys said it. I mean, guys aren't wearing pads yet. Things change. The speed picks up. The intensity picks up.
You get hit in the mouth.
You get hit in the mouth. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Chase, do you live in Indy?
I live in Franklin, Indiana. I'll be going up to training camp on Sunday.
You live in Franklin, Indiana. That's the home of the Grizzly Cubs. For those of you people that are not aware, that's a southern suburb of Indianapolis that is now basically. At one time, it was a little town. Now it's basically its own suburb because everything just keeps moving south. And the pride of Franklin Community High School just got drafted 3rd overall in the Major League Draft to the Detroit Tigers. And here's the thing, Chase. I don't know anything about you other than the fact that your mom watches this and is horrified that you used somewhat bordering on foul language earlier, but that's okay. But you, my friend, have no excuse now and no reason not to set that beautiful alarm in that nice house of yours there at 6:45 a.m. so that you're up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Because if I've got to be out at Grand Park at 7 a.m. to do a live broadcast from Colts camp, then you better be listening. That's all I got.
I actually listen to you every morning, sir.
God,
there you go.
How boring is it, Chase? Do you get bored? Be honest. I'm not going to be offended.
I enjoy it because it gets me on. It motivates me right before I start work at 7 a.m.
Now, what do you do for a living?
I have 2 jobs actually. I work at Aldi's warehouse in Greenwood.
Yep.
And my second job, I've done it for almost 15 years. I'm in the Army National Guard.
Oh, nice. That's cool. Thank you for that. Aldi's is cool too, by the way, because it's. I've got a friend Actually, my girlfriend has a friend that started at Ollie's in high school and worked all the way up to the corporate room. And I love any place that allows their employees to grow like that. So that's cool.
Definitely. Well, guys, maybe, if you guys are both at training camp, you can be like, hey, it's me. And you guys can meet up. That's always.
Chase, yell at me. We'll be there, man.
I'll be in my Army uniform just so I'll stand out.
All right. Sounds good.
Well, let's go around table and we'll start with you, Jake. Tell us, where do we find you on socials and all of that?
My Twitter handle is is it Twitter now? Is it my X handle? What the hell am I supposed to say there?
We'll still say Twitter for a while. It's like the Chargers. It took us so long to go from San Diego to LA. So we'll call it Twitter.
Baltimore Colts for crying out loud. On Twitter, it's at Jake Query, which no one knows how to spell that. It's JakeQuery. At Jake Query is my Twitter handle. I now have like threads and Instagram and all that, but I'm 51 years old. I don't post any of that stuff because I don't know how to do any of it. So Twitter is basically it. Or you can always find us at 1075thefan.com. I'm on every morning from 7 until 10 talking about the Colts. And we will have on plenty of writers from Houston, Tennessee, and Jacksonville, Houston, Nashville, I should say, and Jacksonville as well to talk about things as we get closer towards the season.
Heck yeah. Josh Allen?
You'll find me on Twitter at Josh Gives Up, and also every Sunday when I'm not watching the Jags, enjoying very much watching Anthony Richardson overthrow receivers in the NFL like
That's
he did
entirely
his whole career.
He's a Gators fan too.
Yeah.
Jake,
Hold on,
so.
Josh. Give me your. Oh no, my battery just died on my phone. What's your Twitter handle?
I think the lightning.
Josh Gives Up.
Josh
Gives Up. I see it right there. Okay,
Yep.
All right. All right.
Matt.
You can find me on Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central, the Texans Fan Battle podcast. And also, guys, remember the contest Sam talked about. We'll be doing the winner on September 11th. So make sure you tune in for that. But find me on Twitter, Threads, whatever app people are using today. You'll find me on A1 Day 1 Texans. Yeah, I'm such a boomer.
I am too. Don't worry about it. Tyler?
My Twitter is Titan_always22. It's the Ryan Stonehouse Stan account, the original one and only. Used to be the Brett Kern Stan account. We show love to the specialist here. Also find me on Monday nights. Tomorrow night will be my first Titans Fan Battle podcast. I'm joining as a co-host. I'm super excited about that. Shout out to Max and Flame. Can't wait to talk Titans with you guys. Y'all tune in.
Yeah, man.
Hold on. When you go on there, you have to say, Sam wanted me to say to you, Jonathan, and you got to say it just like that, and he'll know what you mean, but catch him off guard. All right, Chase.
All right.
You guys can catch me at on Twitter at CSGordon2434 and also on Facebook. My name's right there. And I'm a big fan of yours, Jake. And also he does the Pacers. And I got a quick Pacer question.
Yes,
what do you think of the team so far with all the upgrades they put in so far?
Really good. I think the Pacers are going to be really good. I think they had a window there that was probably a 3-year window of rebuild. I think it's shrunken significantly because Halliburton – was more than probably what they knew when they were getting him. And then they have really good young pieces to put around him. I think Mathern's great piece. They drafted well. So I'm pretty bullish on them, to be honest with you. I don't, this year maybe they get up into the 40-42 win range, get into the playoffs and get a little bit of experience with that. And then I think probably they ascend from there into, the East is pretty loaded, admittedly, but I think they are on their way to being, hopefully, within 2 to 3 years, a team that has a 5 to 6 year run contending in the East.
Awesome.
There you go. You made Chase happy with that one. I see he's content. Well, guys, you can find me on Twitter at Sammy Football with an I. Of course, follow AFC South Fan Battle, which is AFC SFB. I didn't mess it up this time. And Fan Battle Sports on Twitter as well. Check out the contest. Check us out. And of course, I couldn't not mention the Horseshoe Mob. Tuesday nights at 9:30. That's our Colts podcast. So make sure you check that out. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Thank you, Jake.
All right, guys. My pleasure. See you, Chase.
Sorry for the lightning bolts.